In this section, we discuss the relationship between clinical research and the medical device regulation. But first, let us begin with an explanation of what clinical research is. Clinical research refers to the branch of studies that determines the safety and effectiveness of medications, devices, diagnostic products, and treatments that are intended for human use. Clinical research may involve various types of studies, including clinical trials, observational studies, and other research methods. They are designed to gather data on how well a medical intervention works and how safe it is for patients. All clinical research involves the study of these interventions on human subjects. The number of participants needed for a clinical investigation can vary widely depending on the goals of the study and phase of development. For instance, pilot or feasibility studies that focus on a preliminary assessment of a medical device usually involves 10 to 50 participants. This smaller sample size allows for a thorough evaluation of the functionality of the device and safety in a controlled setting. Pilot and feasibility studies can help to identify any adverse effects or to evaluate learning curves. Clinical trials aim to further assess the treatment safety and to evaluate the efficacy. They usually involve a large group of participants, typically between 100 to 300 patients. Here the goal is to gather preliminary data on the effectiveness of the treatment, especially for new medical devices or those with insufficient clinical evidence. The MDR is directly related to clinical research as it sets the standards and requirements for the clinical evaluation and investigation. The MDR mandates that manufacturers conduct a thorough clinical evaluation for their medical devices. This is a continuous process and involves an in-depth assessment of clinical data obtained from clinical trials, scientific literature, and post-market surveillance. In particular, we have clinical investigations. These are crucial, especially for new medical devices or those with insufficient clinical evidence. The MDR requires that these investigations are designed and reported in compliance with various articles of the MDR. When it comes to regulatory submissions to obtain the CE marking, clinical data is indispensable. Manufacturers must include clinical evidence in their technical documentation to indicate conformity with the MDR. The MDR also outlines specific requirements for both pre-market clinical investigations and post-market clinical follow-up. This means that manufacturers must continuously monitor the performance and safety of their devices even after they are on the market. To get a better view on how clinical research is tailored to the development stages of the medical device, we take a look at the concept of technology readiness levels. The TRL levels for medical devices are used to assess the maturity of a particular technology. They range from TRL1, where basic principles are observed, to TRL9, where the actual system is proven in the clinical environment. Studies at lower TRL levels are exempt from the MDR. However, studies with prototype devices that are used for proof of concept clinical investigations or clinical evaluations intended for market introduction are governed by Articles and Annex 1 of the MDR.